In today's story, we see that long hike, a near death experience, and the ultimate betrayal are not just an expression of man's love for God, but it is an expression of God's unending love for man. But before we start off with this long and life changing hike, let's start with a little bit of backstory. We have God and we have Abraham. And Abraham, as you remember, was given a son in his very old age. And his son was named Isaac because of laughter and because everybody laughs whenever they hear about how hilarious it is that Abraham and his wife Sarah had this son when they were like 100 years old. So God comes to Abraham and he says, "Hey, Abraham, you know your son, who you love, Isaac. He's the best, isn't he? Well, I want you to kill him. Take him up onto the mountain on the Mount Moriah, and there offer him as a burnt sacrifice." And Abraham says yes, and he doesn't waste any time following God. The very next morning, he gets his servants together, and he gets his son. And of course, they're gonna need some wood, so he gives the wood to Isaac to carry up the hill, and he needs a knife, so he carries the knife himself, and he's gonna need some fire for the burnt offering. So he carries those things, and they're all traveling on their way, and Isaac speaks up and he says, "Hey, Dad, we have the wood and we have the fire, but where's the lamb? Don't we need a lamb for the burnt offering?" And Abraham says, don't worry about the lamb. God will provide the lamb for us." So they keep on walking, and when they get to a certain place, he tells his servants, "Hey, why would you guys just wait here and we'll be back shortly?" So the servants stay behind. And so they finally come to the place that God had told them, and they build an altar there to the Lord. And they pile on the wood on the altar, and then comes the hard part. He binds his son Isaac and puts him on the altar. And Abraham is here and he's ready to serve God. And he raises his knife to kill his son. And just as he's about to bring down the blade, he hears a voice from God. And God says, "Stop! Don't kill the boy. But look, I have caught a ram for you, and it's there in the bushes. Kill that ram instead. I have seen your love for me, that you love me so much. You would not withhold from me your son, your only son, your promised son. And I have seen that you would do absolutely anything for me." And so Abraham and Isaac, they take the ram and they put the ram on the altar, and they slaughter the ram as the burnt offering instead of Isaac. And because of God's provision on the mountain, it is called the place where the Lord will provide. And they say, "On the mountain of the Lord, it will be provided." And God says to Abraham, "Because you have done this, because you agreed to sacrifice your only son, I am going to make you into a great, great nation. And this nation is going to be so mighty and powerful that they are going to overcome all of their enemies. And they're going to be a great blessing, not just for themselves, but for the whole earth, so that the whole earth may know who I am." And so they go home and they celebrate and they tell of what God has done. And that would be the end of the story, except there is some very important information here at the end of the chapter. You see, Isaac one day is going to need to get married. And who is he going to marry? Well, we'll see. You know, there's Abraham. We know that. We know about him. And his brother Nahor. And Nahor's pretty cool. He was left back in the land before Abraham came and followed God. And he had this wonderful wife, Milcah. And they have a bunch of children. There's Uz and Buz and Kemuel and Kesed. There's Hazo and Pildash. There's Jidlaph and Bethuel. And Bethuel becomes the father of a wonderful girl. Her name is Rebecca. And she's going to be very important in the future story. And Nahor also had some sons with his concubine.